is Parenting Today on Lagos.
Yes, indeed. It's another Thursday, and it's time for Parenting Today. 30 minutes go past 12 p.m. My name is Kofi Bartels, and Parenting Today has been serving us very, very interesting and informative information as far as, or informative discussions, rather, as far as parenting is concerned. And our in-house parenting expert is back with us today. I'd like to say a very good afternoon and welcome to Yetty Williams. These two. Last week's conversation was really, really, really important because we had some feedback from people. Some messages even dropped after we had ended the conversation, and I know that some people wanted to ask some questions, but I'm sure they can always find you online if they'd like to, ask some questions. Am I correct?
That's correct. You can find me especially on Instagram at Yeti Williams, and if they message me there, I'm the one that handles it, so I'll take up their questions.
Fantastic. Yetty Williams is a social entrepreneur, parenting and abundant living for moms, coach, a neuro-linguistic programmer, practitioner. She has over 20 years professional work experience spanning several areas, and she's the founder and the chief executive officer of LagosMums.com, which is Nigeria's premier and first parenting blog. Today, we're looking at inconsiderate children and how to deal with the woke generation. Am I correct, Yeti?
Yeah, so we're talking about how to raise considerate children in a cancel culture.
In the cancel culture. Yes, how to raise considerate children, rather, in the cancel culture. For some parents, and for those who are listening, please feel free. In the next few minutes, we'll take your calls if you'd like to ask any question to Yeti. The numbers to call 080-9191-3913. 080-9191-3913. Yeti, some parents may not even know what a cancel culture is. So for those who do not know what a cancel culture is, or have never heard of the term, what exactly is a cancel culture?
Yep, it's a perfect place to start. So, cancel culture at the root of it is actually for marginalized groups or communities to assert their values and to try and balance the power dynamics. So in terms of overall explanation of what it really means when somebody feels wronged, it is their opportunity and the way for them to speak up and to speak out. That's the root of where cancel culture comes from. And it's traced back quite a few years ago. I've done some research around it. So that's what cancel culture means in general. What happens now is that because we now have social media, and we have a way where anybody anywhere can talk about anything, it has moved online. So it's almost like now having a social media mob, almost like a social justice mob, where they can just come at anybody online once they feel that person has done something wrong or questionable. And so, of course, you can imagine where there can be some concerns around that, because if we now live in an environment and an age where anybody's truth is their truth, anybody can share whatever they want online, whether or not it's 100% true or not, that can also be very dangerous. And if we're raising children in this environment, so if you're a parent today, your child is a digital native growing up in a world where everything is about what they see online, and that's where they're picking up life lessons from, even before parents sometimes have a chance to actually shape the child's view of the world. So that's what cancel culture is, and it's seeping into everything. You will hear people now saying, I will drag you. Dragging means I will take you through the social media streets. I will show you who's boss on Twitter or Snapchat or whatever platforms you use. And also, even in children's language, there's a lot of, I just canceled that person. I just blocked them on social media. So there's a lot of that going on. So it's talking about it in the context of modern day parenting. What does that mean? What should we watch out for? And at the end of the day, we need people to be kind and thoughtful to each other. That's the only way, human nature is going to continue to be preserved. So how do we raise our children with that in mind?
Okay, interesting. So we need people to be considerate. I've seen some stories of cancel culture gone wrong, and where people are called out on social media, ostracized, and are kicked out of social and professional circles, and then only to realize the person really was just wrongly cancelled, if you choose a term. So we're ready to hear from you. Give us the tips on how can parents raise considerate children in a world of a cancel culture.
Yeah, one of the first things with a lot of things, really, lack of knowledge is very dangerous. And parenting today, you cannot afford not to be aware of the things going on. And one of the biggest areas is to be up to date, quote and unquote, on things happening in the social world, social media, online. You need to know what's happening so that you can even start to have regular conversations with your children. The other day, I listed the list of minimum of 20 things that parents need to be able to discuss with their children who are digital natives. So everything from FOMO to digital footprint, there's so much going on that we ourselves need to first of all go back to parenting 101 school if we have to relearn what's going on today so that we can have the relevant conversations. And one thing I found with children today is if they feel you don't even know what's going on, quote and unquote, these same children are canceling their parents in a way. Because if a child today thinks mommy and daddy don't even get it, you know what they're going to do? In their mind, they're going to cancel you, that you're not even relevant. You can't help them in the dispensation or in the world that they're living in. So once a child has that feeling where they have power at their fingertips because of all this access to information they have, they feel that you, the parents who are supposed to guide them, don't even have a clue. That means this child is left being raised essentially on the social media streets. Every time I call it the social media streets, my children laugh and say, why do you call it that? I said, because that's the streets. It's like when you want to raise a child who's street smart versus book smart. Now they're social media smart. And we have to realize that our children need to be social media smart. So for parents, the first thing is get knowledge. Spend a few minutes every day online and just see what's going on, what's trending. Part of trending doesn't mean that I'm asking you to go on TikTok and start dancing. But when you know what's trending, you can even start to have a conversation with your children and ask them questions like, oh, what do you think about this? You'll be amazed that they'll look at you and think, how does mommy know this? Or how does daddy know this? But it shows that you're relevant. And in children today, you need to have that door open where they see you as relevant. If they don't see you as relevant, they're going to shut you out. And then it's going to be a problem to even get to them at all. So the first thing parents can do, please go and get knowledge. Go and seek knowledge, learn about what's going on in the world that we live in today, so that you can then layer your own values on top of that. But you're coming from a place of, I understand the world, quote and unquote, today. Now as a family, as your mother, as your father, as your caregiver, let's talk about this within the context of what's appropriate and what's not appropriate.
Interesting. All right, so learn about what's going on in today's culture. Don't just sit back and say, I'm a parent and that's all I need to be. And if anything goes wrong, I'll discipline the children. You need to know what they know. You need to be where they are. But so are parents meant to go download the TikTok app and then install it on their phone or what?
The truth is, if you identify what apps your children are using, how can you train or teach somebody about something you have no clue about? Let's even start from there. As a parent, most of us, before social media, let's say before digital age parenting, if you were going to raise a child and you're going to teach them about manners and culture and how to greet and how to kneel and how to do homework, we have done that before, right? Those parents have gone through that themselves. They too have gone to school. They too know how to kneel. They know how to greet. They know all these things. They know how to tie gaily. All those little things. As a parent, you've done it, is why you can usually teach your child. So when you're now working in a world where it almost seems as if the power balance has shifted, where your children now know so much that they didn't need you for. So we're no more seen as the source of information and the source of training per se. So it's a power shift that parents have to understand. So one of the things that I advise is, if you know what apps your children are using, you don't have to keep the app on your phone, but why not download it and just play around with it and see, okay, what do they do on this app? What's going on here? What are the areas for potential danger, pitfalls? And sometimes the apps are not all bad. Nothing is all good or all bad. It's how you use it. So when you know what's up, you can now talk to your child about it. Like, oh, what apps are you even using? And this is where parental software also comes in. What are your family digital dynamics? Can your child just download whatever app they want without asking you? Some parents give their children phones, give them access to the internet and Wi-Fi, and that is the end of it. So you don't know what they've downloaded, how long they're spending on it, who they are talking to, and what they're doing online. That's very dangerous. So yes, I say you have to know what's going on. You have to know what they're doing. You have to know what they like to do, and then come from a place of understanding and conversation, so that you can have those relevant conversations around the things that you want to make sure that they have their antennas up, so that they don't fall into a trap.
Okay, all right. So is that the major thing parents should do? Implement to ensure that they raise considerate children in a cancel culture world, or is there another one you want to give us before we go on our break?
No, so that was just answering your question specifically around should parents then download apps that their children are using, and I'm saying that's one way to make sure you're helping them make the right choices. Okay. Then now we can talk. We can, after the break, I guess we can go into what do we really do to raise considerate children in this world.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. The kids today have strong, very strong views about the environment. I mean, I personally, as recent as last year, went on criticizing the youngsters of these days, Generation Z, saying, they're all interested in entertainment and all that, and reality shows, and they're not as conscious as they should be. But they proved me wrong. You could see the conscious protests in the United States of America over George Floyd. We saw what happened in the UK over a sort of a confusion regarding exams, mock exams in the UK and exam results, and it made the government change their mind or their decision. In Nigeria, we saw NSAS. These youth and the youngsters, the children of today, are more advanced, more exposed, and more opinionated than we could ever think. Aren't we going to be seeing a clash if the parents are saying, because parents don't understand what's important to children these days. If they go online and say, I hate this, I hate that, I'm calling you out, me too, and all that, and the parents will start bringing, maybe, you shouldn't do that, wouldn't there be a clash?
And a lot of these things is how you go about it. And I like what you said. It's easy to say these children of nowadays. There's a lot of positive in quote and unquote these children of nowadays. They're a very aware generation. They're a generation that was born into, levels of information and access to information at their fingertips than even our grandfathers could ever have dreamt of. Right? So with that, we can't come at them as you children of nowadays, all you do is selfies and all of that. Yes, there's that side of it, but there's also the side that, they're very aware. They know what's going on. They're aware of issues in any part of the world. I was amazed, for example, sometime last year when my daughter's logo in Nigeria, her logo became Black Lives Matter logo. And that's right there in your living room in Nigeria. And I don't even think she was 13 yet. So imagine as a parent, your head is in one cloud where all you're talking about is just, I don't know, do you kneel down to greet your mom, my grandma, or your auntie or uncle? All of those things are important, but we're raising children in a world where they are very aware. But because they're aware, and I always say this, because a child has content, doesn't mean they have the right context around it. And that's where parenting comes in. We need to help with painting. One other thing I wanted to bring out was a term called, I love all these acronyms and terms because I spent so much time in this space, but there's something called FOMO, FOMU. And
okay. I know FOMO.
Yeah, FOMO is fear of missing out. We all kind of know what that means, where everybody else's life seems to be better than ours because we're comparing ourselves to people online. And once again, for children, they don't know where to draw the line between somebody's virtual life is what they are giving you versus the real life. But let's leave that for another day. FOMO stands for fear of messing up. Now, yes. So it's actually something as well where in psychotherapy areas as well, it's very clear that a lot of children now actually are having increased anxiety because the cancel culture, anybody can be cancelled. It's not as if you are special or not special, right? Anybody can be cancelled. So there's actually now an anxiety and a fear of messing up that, if I mess up, they're going to immediately drag me online. That can also be a very, sad way to live if you're always worried and always, fearful of being called out online. And for them, that's where they're still building self-esteem, they're still building confidence. So if they feel that anything I do wrong, my friends will cancel me, they will block me on social media, they can put a hashtag and say it's over for me, it's a very stressful time. So it's very important for parents to, honestly, you cannot afford to say you don't know, you cannot afford to say you don't understand this their world. You have to understand it so that you can be there to even, so that they know they can even talk to you. If that's all they even know, that you know what, if something happens in the online world, which is their world, they can come to you and talk to you about it. They're not going to hear you say, you children of nowadays, oh, in my days, oh, we did not do all this one, oh. That's not going to help them. So I think that's the last thing I wanted to share.
Okay. This is one someone shared online. She said, my 16-year-old daughter, like many other teens, spent a lot of time, a lot of the pandemic time on social media. She and her friends group have become much more active around social justice issues. I think 16 is not a bad age. It's thereabouts you start to see these things these days. Social justice issues, following activists on Instagram and organizing protests, actions in our city. In general, I'm proud she's expanding her worldview and taking action. However, it seems that many of the activists she follows are very pro-canceling, and she's taking this to heart. We can't decide on a movie as a family, go shopping to the mall as a family, or go to the park without my daughter railing against a brand, railing against a person, or railing against a company that the rest of the family was excited about. Even though, if I'm being honest, she usually hasn't done the research and is just repeating what she saw on Instagram. Yetty, what should this parent do?
I love this example that this person took the time to list out, because indeed, see how we started with being proud that this child is, being pro activism and all of that. But we have to be careful that children don't end up becoming very intolerant, where they're just repeating what they see online just because somebody said it online, right? So it's part of the conversations. What this parent has to do is, number one, she's clearly plugged in enough to even identify these signs in her child, which is major. So kudos to her, because most parents might not even get to this point. Now you want to be having conversations with her after she has railed and complained about whatever it is, the brand, because somebody has said, all of you boycott this brand because of ABCD. Then ask her, be like, okay, can you explain to me what exactly happened? What's your view on it? The more you draw her out, the more it will force her to listen to what she's saying, and then you can start to teach her to de-escalate. Online, it's very easy to just jump on a particular trend, and before you know it, you're repeating something just because you have been seeing it online, not because you understand what's going on behind it. So I would encourage her to keep having conversations with her child, with her daughter, and slowing her down. Okay, so that's really what I can advise.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. For those who'd like to engage with you further on social media, there we go. How can they do that? Where can they find you?
Yes, please. We actually are running a series of online safety masterclasses for parents and children. We can't afford to be passive in this day and age. The best way to find me is to reach out to me on Instagram at Yeti Williams. That's Yetty Williams, or at LagosMums.official. And also our website, LagosMums.com, has a whole lot of resources for parents raising children in today's day and age. So those are the best ways to get knowledge, get information, and reach out to me.
Yetty Williams, the CEO and founder of LagosMums.com, Nigeria's premier and first parenting blog. Thank you very much for your time. It's been quite interesting talking to you today.
Thank you, Kofi. Have a lovely day.
Yes, and very much look forward to the next edition.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.